I enjoy your meeting.
We love it. We love it. It's just so effortless.
I can put my timer on.
Yeah, we would ride
You're in charge.
Well, I mean, I can eyeball it too.
You're in charge.
Crosses 492, comes
Because I might forget to do it. And I'm
comes into
trying to
Marquette.
control everything. So.
Behind the hospital,
Well, I can help.
on the railroad grade goes up. I'm like the holiday inn. You know, back up through there.
I'll try
Basically,
to.
on railroad grades. Every now and then.
I get busy listening.
Okay, let's call this
Yep.
Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 13th to order. And we'll start with the roll call.
Steve Hagan, Lake Enchantment Trail.
Dennis Ferraro, Eagle Nest Road.
Bethany Cody, Lake Enchantment.
Jim Johnson, White Oak Drive.
Linda Winslow, Norwood Street, Marquette Township.
Jason McCarthy, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Anything different on it, Jason?
On the agenda, no, I think we're good to go.
What was that I received in that email just before for the,
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that later in the correspondence.
don't have to, just correspondence?
Not applicable,
Okay,
not applicable to tonight.
all right.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Minutes from the previous meeting, June 8th, 2022.
I'd like to make an adjustment to the minutes. I added, under the Township Board Report, it should say in the third line down, recommended no changes to water, so delete and sewer rates. It was a water feasibility study, affordability study. So,
Okay.
I'll move we approve them with the change. Can I do, if I wrote them, can I do that?
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, anyone wishing to make any public comment now before we have, assuming you're here for the public hearing, you're welcome to do so now at this point, or you can wait for the public hearing to open up. All right. Seeing no one, we'll move on to new business. And the special use public hearing number 071322-1. Proposed tiny home land use to be located at 400 County Road 550 in Marquette within the zoned rural residential district. Parcel tax ID is 52-08-004-029-10. The applicant is 550 Outpost LLC, 117 North 6th Street in Marquette. Jason.
Well, good evening. So the township of Marquette Township has been fairly forward-thinking and progressive community. And what I mean by that is, you know, our jobs are to try to keep families here and provide housing and jobs for people. And one of the ways that we've tried to solve some of the housing shortage, I guess if you will, is by allowing, and not everybody's going to take advantage of this, right? So tiny homes, which by definition are 450 square feet or less. You know, obviously they're more affordable, but some of them can be pretty pricey. So we do allow these by special use permit in all of our residential zoning districts, as well as short-term rentals. So some people, we found in the new economy, kind of work remotely, and they can live here half the time and you know, rent their house out, and that's going to continue to be a hot button topic, the short-term rentals. However, tonight is about the 550 Outpost's proposal to place 2 tiny homes on a piece of property which is identified there just to the east of Phil's 550. There is a well on the site, and it's zoned rural residential, as Commissioner Johnson indicated. These lines, okay, we get these property lines from county equalization, and they're skewed, okay? This is a 2-dimensional layer over a 3-dimensional earth. So you would have to, if this were accurate, you go up a little bit and over a little bit. So this, you know, there's no encroachments here. the representatives from the 550 Outpost are here. As you may know, they purchased Phil's 550. They've made some considerable improvements to the property, and they want to make some more improvements. So tonight is a public hearing to have everybody speak on what's being proposed here. So this is just the zoning map. So this is rural residential in this area. This is scenic residential in this area. And I wanted to show this map for everybody because the state requires that anytime you have a public hearing, everybody within 300 feet gets notified, okay? And it has to be within 15 days ahead of the meeting so that people have the opportunity to come and speak to things and provide your comment. But I will say that the majority of the Middle Island campers are more than a half mile away from this property. They also own this piece, which is why they were notified. If they didn't own this piece of property, you know, nobody would have been any the wiser probably in this area. But understandably, many of you are here, and we appreciate you coming. It's your right to do so. This is the survey of the property that was provided, along with the warranty deed demonstrating that Mrs. Pierce conveyed to the 550 LLC, or Philville LLC, if that doesn't work. This is the kind of a rudimentary site plan in that this is the Phil's 550 store on one property. This is the adjacent property. And you can see the two tiny homes, how they're situated on the property. Now, if this was a larger home, maybe only one house would be warranted. If the land use is approved, so the Planning Commission tonight can either approve, deny, or approve with conditions. And if it were to be approved, the minimum requirement for a home to be placed on a property in Marquette Township for a proper well and septic system is 40,000 square feet. That's coming right from the county health department. However, this is a pre-existing parcel that's been around for a long time. It has an existing well. And in talking to Pat Giacuzzo from the county health department, he's indicated verbally to me that he would allow a shared well system on this property. Very much like any of your well systems if you're not on water and sewer in the community. So those are the two basic footprints of the structures, little parking area. And also note that these are not short-term rentals. These are not proposed to be short-term rentals. These are long-term rentals. There is a short-term rental that they already have and that they utilize, but that's a whole other permit application, okay? So this is just a blow-up of that, and I apologize, not a lot of this is legible, but the nuts and bolts of what's going on in there. There's no new access off of County Road 550. There's an existing driveway. They would be utilized that with a reciprocal easement. And these are just the floor plans of the structures. I wanted to note that one of the applicants is a renowned architect, works all over the world, and these are not shipping container homes, okay? These are nice structures. So this was the notification area for the 300 feet. This shows basically the parcels that we notified via mail. And then of course, I've gotten lots of phone calls in the last couple of weeks, so that's great. The zoning in the area is similar on all four directions, so there's really not an issue there as far as, you know, like land uses and such. Change is a little different, you know, people think, oh, the tiny homes are going to ruin my property values or things of that nature. I don't believe there's any evidence of that out there, but I'd be willing to hear it if there were. So the Planning Commission has to decide, you know, what comments that are being provided tonight are relevant and what are hearsay, and whether or not concerns or whether or not the applicants can explain their concerns or their objectives with the project. in a clear way that is understandable to everybody and amenable to everybody. That's the gist of it. If there's any questions from the planning commission, I'd be happy to answer them. And the applicants themselves are here as well.
Are you sure that lot's not 40,000 square feet?
It is 40,000 square feet. It is, but in order to have two structures on the lot, they would have to have a dimensional variance.
Has the health department given you an idea what size septic they would need for those two homes, 900 square feet?
I would defer to the
Yeah,
applicant.
1,000 gallons for the two. They're
Can
two
you identify
one-
yourself, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name.
Please.
Oh,
Yeah, come on.
all right.
Before we go on any further, we'll have to open this public hearing then if you have questions for him.
Or should I sit down?
No, you can still stay there.
There's no
Good call, Jim.
Do you want me up there too?
Only if called upon.
All right, there we go.
Open the public
He's
hearing.
the architect, so.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing tonight. It's 7:11. And just to remind everyone, there is a 3-minute time limit since we have so many people here. So Bethany will be timing that, so she'll kind of let you know when your time is up.
Not just looking at my phone.
Okay, and if you could state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Lepinen, 117 North 6th Street.
Kevin Thompson, 340 East R Street.
Referring to the question about the sizing, we have had the health department out there and done the percolation tests, and we've located the all of that, so 1,000 gallons septic tank for the 2 one-bedroom.
So you have the soil horizon done?
Yep.
And it won't need to be a mounted system, or anything like that? You've got plenty of groundwater there?
Yeah, we're going a little bit higher elevation towards, on that one site, there's actually a granite rock outcropping that blocks the view of the cabins from the 550, and we're right to the, I guess, north of that, northeast. Yeah, it's pretty much just that northeast, almost where the Hardy Star is. Oh, yeah, so there's a granite outcropping right through, where is it? So Phil's 550 story. These lines aren't accurate, so it's right in here, actually. So the cabins are located further over here, so they're at a higher elevation, so.
Okay, and the site's already been approved, is that correct?
The,
The septic, for the septic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the 550 store share water source with the two tiny homes?
no, they're separate.
You have a separate well?
Mm-hmm.
And the well has been approved in terms of distance from the septic?
Yes, that's correct.
So the home that's in the back, is that in your possession as well? Your business possession?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you own the store, the parcel that is intended to have the two tiny homes, and then the home in the back as well?
Yeah, so this actually is a little bit over. There's a 65-foot setback between the home and the property line, so yeah.
Okay. And then, so they're all accessed with a common easement between from the store, is that correct?
Yes, from the 550.
Okay, so that's gonna be the only access to 550 will be through the existing road.
Mm-hmm.
There won't be additional road cuts, curb cuts, anything like that, okay.
So, I think I heard this correctly, they're 1-bedroom tiny homes, so limited number of people would be living in there, 2.
Correct.
Two. Yeah, exactly.
Aaron's got a more detailed, we can show that too, if you want to check it out too.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, do that. Pass it around, it's,
Just a
this
rendering.
gives a good, yeah, it's just a better rendering. They're really
So they're
cool
pretty
little
modern.
properties, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, nice and clean.
so we could take a picture of that, or you could.
Yeah, we can send that.
And then
Send
we
it, of
can.
course.
You might wanna, after we're done looking at it, you might wanna stand and hold it so the
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll give
assembled
that.
group can see it.
Yeah, of course.
So the intent is that these are gonna be rentals,
Yeah.
and they'll be not short-term rentals, that's what I heard, correct? Okay,
The concept, Linda, I mean, there's a shortage of housing right now in this community. And we just started to talk, like, let's put 2 of these up, you know, and we don't, not that we're gonna put any more up on that property, but maybe there's something to these things too, if we get it dialed in at the, you know, at a
Yeah.
cost that people can afford, you know, I don't know. It's
yeah. We
just a
talked
neat
about
concept that
them.
Aaron came up with, and we loved them, and,
Yeah, we've talked about them here,
yeah,
and the community has talked about them, and the high school has built one.
right.
Yeah, I think that they did a program, yeah, we've talked to them actually, the maps before about this type of concept, because these are actually prefabricated is the intention, so they will be made in a factory, and then they'll be shipped and assembled, so I think important to also note that, you know, construction is gonna be only the foundation, the setup time for these, install time is being quoted at 3 to 4 hours. Once the foundation is ready, so we're doing it with Dickinson Homes out in Iron Mountain. Basically waiting for the green light if that works, and so they get shipped, they come on a container, a crane will lift them into place and set them, and they'll do some touch-ups, so that, I've done extensive research on the best way to get these things done in a timely manner, so not to disrupt any, you know, the area with big, long construction projects.
Is it your intention that these will be leased on a yearly basis?
Well, right now we're focusing a little bit through some other connections, through probably the hospital and some nursing, so those would be a little more of like a 3-month terms, usually their contract is.
Okay.
I got some other
Excuse
units
me.
in town that we do some stuff with the we've got some recruiting agencies that, again, the shortage is,
Thank you.
it's all around, it's not just full-time citizens here, it's people coming into work short time, and, yeah, so it's usually, some of these are like 3-month leases, and a lot of the travel nurses.
Have you done a economic comparison of how your monthly rent charges compare to any comparable dwelling apartment in Marquette?
I mean, I've got a couple rentals that, we've kind of got it figured out as far as the pricing goes, and it does better as a versus a long 1-year lease. That's kind of what you're asking, is versus doing some month-to-month or like 3-month leases.
The reason I'm asking is we are all concerned here on the Plan Commission with trying to make housing more affordable.
Sure.
For people in the community. And you, I think, prefaced some of your comments with that as well. So, or maybe Jason did, I guess. Anyway, I just wondered how that fits in terms of the affordability of these units compared to other rental units in town. I'm not asking you what you're going to charge.
No, I get that part. No, I mean, it's, you know, obviously construction prices are high right now, all throughout, so, you know, interest rates are probably going up another point in about a few weeks, so, you know, that's all has to be taken into consideration from the time they actually get approved to online, and then we adjust. So, I mean, we're hoping to stay within that, you know, in that range, but again, you know, that's global economics also have an impact on what that is. So, but initial comparisons were, yeah, they can be comparable to that.
I think it'd be best if, you know, that'd be it for now, and then we'll see if you want to come back and answer questions. There might be some questions from people, and you can come back and address those.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
On this topic,
Mm-hmm.
do I have to get up there?
Yeah.
Make it so hard.
Would it be possible to simply first ask a question, and you could specifically state how this is a variance from the current zone?
Sir, you'll have to, whoever wants to come up and talk will have to come up here and then state your name and address.
Okay. So, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So my question is.
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sue Hornbogen, 31 Middle Island Point, Marquette. My question to you guys is, right now you say you're doing 2. I'm pretty familiar with that parcel of land. and there's room for more. So the other part for Middle Island is, you're talking about 3-month leases. How are you gonna mitigate trespassers on our property? Oh, what a beautiful place, I wanna go for a hike. However, our liability concerns say no trespassing. But you don't have anyone there staying long enough to get the point. So it's always turnover, 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 and there's nothing stable there. And when I think of sustainable housing in Marquette, I'm looking at a place where people can live for a couple of years. You know, and I know what the rental prices are in town. My daughter lives in town, it's ridiculous. And so I guess my concern here is that I need to know how you guys are gonna mitigate letting people know where the boundaries are and whether or not you plan on filling in the rest of this area at some point, because this is a really good idea. You can do it, I mean, there's room there. But I guess I'll just come back to my point, which is mitigating the trespassers and you can't use the beach. You know, it's a liability issue for us. So, yeah, that's my concern.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Ma'am? Is the property that you're concerned about that's adjacent to this proposed area, is it posted that says no trespassing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yes, it is, and people have kicked the signs down.
even before, people just kick it down, but doesn't have necessarily anything to do whether there's a tiny house there or not, right?
Not really, but it's just, there's pressure, you know, we all know this, there's pressure in our town, it's gonna grow. And it's just mitigating, keeping people safe, and keeping personal interests safe. That's what it's all about.
You mentioned a beach, is that the beach?
Well, it's Middle Island Point. That is not public property.
I see.
Everybody knows that.
At Middle Island Point, yeah.
Right. I mean, have you had problems with, let's have a discussion, have you had problems with trespassing? Okay.
Yes.
And when did that start? Back in the 70s?
Probably even before that.
Okay. So they've been running a short-term rental for a couple of years right next to the store. Have you guys?
Trespassing has increased year after year after year. Now, maybe not necessarily just because of the Airbnb next to the store.
Yes, sir.
But in general, it's increased year after year after year, which is why we marked all of our trails, we put up signs. We actually met with the gentleman when they built the Airbnb to express our concerns. They were very accommodating, said they would let their guests know. We have still seen people coming down the road and around the corner onto the private part of the road into Middle Island Point.
But not necessarily originating from their location.
I personally have seen one couple do that.
We're good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do I get up and respond, or?
Well, let's just wait till
Let
the end.
everybody else speak.
Anyone else? Okay.
Bonnie Johnston, 450 County Road 550. I was just wondering what the township's definition of short-term rental is.
Yeah, it's less than 30 days, ma'am. Yeah, but it's not relevant to this discussion tonight. They're not short-term rentals. If that, does that?
Okay, so you won't rent to anybody less than 30 days?
But it's a whole nother hearing if we wanted to have. It's a separate answer that if you want.
Yeah, they're not proposing to do that, ma'am.
They're calling them long-term rentals.
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot of travel nurses that are getting paid a lot of money right now. And so they would be utilizing that demographic.
So what is your definition of long-term rental?
More than 30 days.
But Jason, how about, it's not our definition, isn't that the definition out there for everyone?
No.
Oh, just
No,
ours?
it
Okay.
differs.
Marquette Township, okay.
evening, John Frick. My family and I own a summer place at number 2 Middle Island Point, and I'm a resident of the city of Marquette. Just very briefly, I do need to applaud the gentlemen who proposed this here this evening. What they're proposing to build blends with the natural environment of Marquette County. It's what most, if not all of us, have come to appreciate and value living here. I am a past member of the Middle Island Point Board. We've been out there for 40 years, and I do want to reiterate the point of our main concern is the trespassing that happens on our property and the fact that there's really no barrier between the plot of land under consideration this evening and the southern border of Middle Island Point's property, which is that basic railroad grade plus that part of Turtle Pond in one of the slides that I think Jason showed a little while ago. I would ask that the commission deny this request simply because at Middle Island Point, we are kind of at wit's end about how we can preserve the natural environment that all of us have worked for more than 100 years to provide to our members out there, and perhaps this is not the best idea presented here this evening. Thank you.
Phil Lilly, I live right on 550, right next to where they're gonna build them. And it's probably, the way I see the, where you got the star over there, and I see where they dug a hole already to see if it's probably like 50 feet from my sauna. And probably like maybe 40 feet from my, 45 feet from my deck. And years ago when, who was it, Lucy Ingeson wanted to sell some land to her son, the exact spot where these guys want to build, and the township wouldn't let them. And let's see what the other thing was. I don't know how many they're gonna build down there. I got here a little late, so I'm not sure how many places are they gonna build. Does anybody know?
2.
2.
It's all that site can hold.
Okay, and that's gonna be right on the corner where that big pine tree is? Is that where it's gonna be?
I don't think I can answer you. Am I allowed to?
It's your turn to speak, sir. They'll respond after
okay.
after you're done. This is your time.
Well, I'm just wondering if, I'm deadly against it to have something that close. There wasn't too long ago, probably maybe within a month, there was a bunch of cars at the 550 store. They were parking in my yard. They were parking on the road going down, which is I own that road. And one of them turned around and backed into my propane tank. I mean, if he would have hit it hard enough, I don't know if you can knock one over, but.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, sir. I'm not sure that it has anything to do with this proposal.
It does if you got a bunch of people parking in your yard. What if one of them people have a little party? Where are they gonna park down there?
Okay, I'll take back that statement. I apologize. Yeah, certainly, anything can happen anytime.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I'm just.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
You expressed a concern about a hole that's been dug that's too close to your sauna?
No, they dug a hole, I
For
think
perk?
for testing for, probably water level or something, I don't know.
Okay.
But I seen that over there.
How close is your property line, or how close is your sauna to your own property line?
It's probably, hard to guess, probably 35 feet, something like that, somewhere's around there.
Okay.
But it's where they're gonna put these tiny homes, and that's right in my backyard. I mean, it's pretty nice and quiet to go and sit on your deck. Now, I'm gonna have two little tiny homes there. You don't know who's gonna be in them. And if we start building tiny homes everywhere, why can't you have a trailer? There's some pretty nice, trailers out there.
Thank you.
Because I know that Marquette County, they haven't had any tiny homes put in anywhere yet?
I'm not sure, I don't know the answer to that, sir. But I know that they supported our zoning amendment to allow them, and it's kind of a thing happening around the country.
Okay.
I'm Frederick Henke, I'm at 6 Mill Island Point. We've lived, my wife and I, at 550 since 1983, our own property on 550, so we're long-time residents, 3 years here at Middle Island Point Road. So again, I'll go back to my first question. If I wasn't particularly totally clear in reading what was sent regarding what specifically are the requests of variances from current rules for zoning. Is it that there's two places? Is it they're less than the square footage? It's a density issue?
All of that. No, it's not a density issue. The county requires for the siting of a well and septic as a minimum for their measurements, 40,000 square feet for a single-family home. In this case, and because of the historic nature of the parcel, the county has looked at it, and because of the size of each structure, has agreed to allow not only the well on the site, but the 1,000 gallon septic system.
So the only variances on number of property or buildings for the septic field and well, it's not got to do anything with the square footage of the buildings or the number of buildings on the property?
Well, yes, it does. So if they're approved tonight, all that the planning commission is concerned with tonight, hopefully, is establishing whether this land use of tiny home is applicable or amenable to this site. If they're approved tonight, they will have to go for a dimensional variance because we only allow one principal structure per property. And that's based on size. But because of the fact that most of the time it has to do with well and septic systems, but because the well and septic system have been categorically approved by the county, I recommended that the applicants, if they are approved, would go and get a variance so that everything, if it was approved across the board, they would have no impediments in the future regarding any zoning issues.
So part of the zoning rules are, it's not just septic, it's not just well, it's the square footage and how it fits into surrounding properties.
Square footage is allowed by special use permit in the township and all residential districts. More than one principal structure on a property would require a dimensional variance.
So multiple rental units, basically.
If you will, yeah,
And
sure.
so those rules would exist for reasons, not just health reasons regarding septic fields as well, but for other reasons as well. So the zoning rules that are being asked to be accepted exist for the reasons of protecting what property values, being consistent with the neighboring properties and the way it's being used. Are these the reasons that we have the zoning rules?
Yeah, they would be considered a single-family residential dwelling unit, just like whatever's next door, just a little bit smaller.
Okay. So it would be changing the density of buildings and people living in them in this area for the essentially the gain of the property owners, which I think is a reasonable thing for them to request. And then the other property owners don't necessarily gain from this, but may lose.
I don't know the answer to that, sir, other than to say.
That would be the question I would ask, because the zoning rules exist for a reason,
That's
and
right.
exception is being asked. The reasons are not just septic fields and wells, but these other reasons as well.
I guess I understand your question, but if those two tiny homes were combined into a 900 square foot home and they had 4 people living there, the density is a moot point.
Okay, so 900 square feet then that'd be okay.
Actually, 1,000 square feet is
1,000
the finished floor area. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, on the first floor.
All right, thanks for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Nancy Carlson, 160 Middle Island Point Road. I'm right next to the property line of the store, and I go behind. And I'm just wondering, how many, I was told about 15 years ago, I called, my mother-in-law wanted to have maybe a house trailer or something on our property, and we own like 8 acres, 8.5, that you had to have 10 acres to have another property or another building put on. Has that changed? I mean, so when did that change?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
When, the 80s?
Yeah, probably.
So,
Oh, more than, no, the 90s, would have been the 90s.
yeah, our zoning ordinance, the most current iteration of it was ratified in 1996. And it's been amended since then. For instance, the Middle Island Point folks and some of the larger tracts around that area were redesignated as scenic residential. The land uses are still the same, but the minimum lot size changed to try to preserve larger tracts of land. But the area along and in and around Philville, if you will, that's all rural residential with a 1 acre minimum.
1 acre.
Yes, ma'am.
So, not that I'm gonna do it, but I would be able to have 8.
You're welcome to call me between 8 and 5 tomorrow, and I'd be happy to answer any zoning questions for you that you have right now.
All right.
Anyone else?
Sewell Connors, 404 County Road 550. We live right next to the store and right next to the Airbnb. And I like the idea if there have to be tiny homes that they would be long-term rentals, because I don't like the idea of the transients coming and going, and you know, it's not their property, it's not their concern, and there's garbage, there's dogs coming in my yard trying to attack me and my dog. I talked to Kevin recently, and I told him, I said, it's getting a little claustrophobic. We've been in our house 40 years, we moved in 1980, and we like the area, we like the location, and we like the peace and quiet, and going to be more people, more traffic, and I kind of hate to see, you know, the short-termers, the long-term, you know, it's probably going to happen. I mean, I've never been to a meeting yet where anything really got, you know, disputed from one thing or another. But it's getting kind of cramped, and it's just such a busy road, it's a busy highway, and personally, I don't like looking out for the people that come in for 3 or 4 days and then leave. So, that's just my opinion.
Are there some short-term, you think there's some short-term rentals there by you?
Well, the Airbnb there are 2 of them. There's
Okay.
one right across the street and then one connected to the store.
Okay, I see.
And a lot of the people are very nice, but there are some that just leave a bad impression, and garbage and noise, and I admit I've got a barky little dog, all the neighbors know her, and I'm trying to teach her, you know, not to bark at everything, but she's always on guard and hyper vigilant, so keep our windows closed and try and teach her not to bark at the neighbors. But,
But you're not objecting to this because this is this is not a short-term rental?
I think it would be a better idea than the transient Airbnb people coming and going. I mean, I know housing, I've been in Marquette almost 50 years, and I know what it's like to try and find a place to live. So, that's about all I have to say. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Frazier, 9 Middle Island Point Road, and I just have some questions. I applaud you for the short-term rentals. I'm glad that it will be like nursing, high-quality type people, and not students that have still some growing to do. But I am curious as to what the long-term plan is for the parcel. Are we looking at more of these coming along? And if we do, I ask the Planning Commission, will we get a meeting like this every time that it comes up? Or once we okay it, it's okay for all the parcels? Those are my questions. Thank you.
I guess I can provide you answers. If your property is located within 300 feet of any project that requires a public hearing, then yes, you would be notified. They are only talking about this specific piece of property this evening and only 2 dwelling units on the property.
So if they have that other piece, if they want to build more on the other piece, they have to ask for more variance?
It's not a variance, it's a special use permit.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. That's okay.
Yeah.
And yes, they would.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Jim Johnston. I live on 370 County Road 550. I know Aaron and Kevin, and I kind of wish I came up with this idea myself, and swear and all that, but you know, I grew up in this area. My mom lives down the road. It's my cousin. Both those people are my cousins. Live next door. We right behind his house, Willie's house. I live in my grandma's house. You know, it's family all around there. I know my cousin lives next door to me. My uncle's across the street. So I know we know each other. You know, we're family. I got 3 young girls, special needs boy, and another baby on the way. And I just want to be able to know who my neighbors are. And it sounds like you're trying to get good, you know, people who do good work. And, you know, sound like reputable. But you know, is that going to stay that way? You know, how can you? I mean, you do this for 20 years. Is it still going to be these nursing students? You know, you can't guarantee that. But I don't know. I just like to know my neighbors. I just appeal to your sense of security for your families, and it's important to me to know who are around in my neighborhood. You know. And I'm just concerned about my kids. And again, I mean, it's my home. I grew up there. My mom grew up in the house that I live in now. And Willie grew up in the house right next door to there. It's our home. So it means something to us. So I guess as an emotional appeal on this. And I know it's a thing, Mr. McCarthy keeps saying it's a thing, it's becoming a thing, but I don't know if all things that are becoming are good things, you know, necessarily. But I just want safety. So, thanks.
Anyone else? Would you guys care to respond now? Sure, since it looks like we're done.
Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody coming out, and, you know, I know this is something that everybody's been talking about in the last month, and, you know, we are listening, and we've met with a number of people, and a lot of our friends and family also live in Middle Island Point, and I know there's also groups that are supporting and also groups that are concerned. So to answer one of the questions, what can we do to keep people? I mean, the property is not directly touching that area, so, you know, and we will do our best, that we have done with the Airbnb, to let the guests know that that is private property. You know, Deb also is planning on living in the house for a number of years. So even though we bought it, she's our long-term tenant and custodian of that area. So I know she is also a member, and so, you know, those are a few things that we've talked about. Signage. You know, I know there's some larger issues with other parts of Middle Island Point, people coming in, but, you know, we're very conscious of that, and, you know, that's at least one response to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deb's our barrier, in all honesty, and she has, I guess, since we've owned it, we've kind of assumed, because I think, I don't even know that access back there. Is it access basically through Deb's backyard, correct? Or is there more entrance points too? Through Phil Lilly. Phil, have you had people on your property?
I've had people.
I mean, all it takes is a phone call. You
Huh?
guys have known that all it takes is a phone call.
I'm next door, right there.
Yeah, so, yeah, if there's ever, I mean, you guys have my numbers, you know, we're more than happy to be
Once
out
in a
there.
while, we get a
Okay.
car coming down and they think our house.
Oh, sure,
have an
because of
Airbnb.
yeah, and I mean, it's posted in, you know, we have like a welcome letter, right, in our Airbnb, and it's got do's and don'ts. It's a big, I mean, it gives you the do's and don'ts, right? Like I'm sure a lot of you have stayed at Airbnbs, and it gives you the do's and don'ts. So it's clearly spelled out. I guess I would ask for you, even whatever happens here today with our existing business, you just please reach out to us. We're more than happy to. I know we've talked on the phone. Chris has got my number. He texts me, and if there's a whiff of anything going on out there, I get a text and I address it. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning, I address it. So, but just, yeah, so I guess that's going back to Sue's concerns. We're more than, you know, we understand. I mean, I don't, aside for us building a fence or a wall, which is not going to happen. I mean, there's open access, you know, Middle Island Beach. I mean, I'm sorry, Island Beach Road too.
Beach Road, I know.
That's a big access point. I see, you know, I run out there every morning and you see people running there and you don't see them come back. So you know they're dodging that little fence out there and entering at Island Beach Road too.
Yeah, and we don't actually, dogs, we don't allow dogs at our Airbnb specifically, so on occasion, if there is a dog that's helping an individual, we'll make a special case, but so, you know, our Airbnb and these rentals also are, you know, not pet friendly, just, we try to maintain a clean area, so, you know, I grew up on the 550, so, you know, I grew up also in an area, and I know trespassing is an issue, and as Marquette gets more and more people, but we are 2 people who grow up here and do our best to really, you know, keep people in line, and you know, especially people, you know, so that's, you know, our commitment to this type of project.
The one question I guess I would ask too, and I know and change is big, right? Especially 550, God, we got a huge new parking lot at Sugarloaf right now. So it's not, I don't think it's I wish it was our store driving all that traffic out there. We might see a profit at the end of the year, but you know, in all reality, it's Marquette's changing. We all know that. We're trying to be respectful of everything that's changing. Yeah, we've gotten to the point with the business. We've been there 4 years now, and this is the option that keeps it going for us. It really is. At the end of the day, when we count out the money, this is it. We've gone, we cut hours, we tried, I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, we've looked at a number of different options to look at, you know, okay, if we go to 1,000 square feet, we don't need to have a public hearing, but that's too big of a house for the area. So the reason we did tiny homes is so that we don't have to put a big house in there, and we want to do something of higher quality. so that it improves your real estate around you guys. And, you know, we're not putting up shacks, we're going with a recommended contractor. So, you know, we're trying to do it the right way, trying to be respectful of the area. And, you know,
There was, yeah. I mean, we kind of get a chuckle because I'm like, I know for 30 years there was 2 trailers back there too. You know, that didn't look, I'm not gonna lie, they didn't look the best. And now we're, you know, when we look at it, we're like, these are kind of nice little, you know, and they're tiny, they're small, and we'd be happy to send you renderings or emails if you want to. If you have more questions, don't talk to the shoe salesman, talk to the architect, but be happy to listen to you and kind of show you more of what we're trying to do. I'm trying to think of some of the other questions that were asked.
I mean, I guess, you know, long-term plans, you know, this was it. I think with this, the store becomes, you know, profitable.
Becomes viable. If it doesn't, you know, this isn't like, this is reality of running a business. If you're not profitable, at the end of the day, it becomes an expensive hobby, and I don't.
To run a beer store is an expensive hobby.
Yeah, and so this is like the best option that Aaron and I came up with. We talked about different things. You know, we tried this, adding on here. This is the least impact that of kind of the plan that we could come up with that makes this thing viable, that keeps the store open, the community. We want to keep doing it. You know, at the end of the day, if we can't do it, we'll probably sell it. You know,
and like you,
I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
I
I
shouldn't
was
get
just,
that far.
yeah,
But
no, I was just gonna say the other thing.
knows, like-
Any future use, you guys will all be back in this room again. You know, okay, you guys said you weren't gonna do any more. You guys said this. So anytime we want to do anything, we're all gonna be having this dialogue. So it's not like from whatever the outcome is, we can just do whatever we want. So we're playing by the books. We're following the rules. We're building high quality. You know, so.
And
So
again-
anyways, that's what I would have to say, and like I said, if there's additional questions, you know, please, you know, continue to ask us. We're gonna be open about it, so we're not trying to hide anything. And you know, Phil Lilly, we're trying to push those cabins as far away from your property, and they are tucked, you know, and I'm not gonna get over what we consider 35 feet versus 60 feet, but it is much farther than that. You know, we're on a 40,000 acre or 40,000 square foot parcel, and we're pushing them over as far as we can. So, you know, we're being conscious of that. We're really trying to not take down any trees, and that's why the scale of these things fits nicely in the woods that are already there. So, you know, we are being thoughtful about them, and I understand this is your neighborhood, and, you know, with that regard, we're being as careful as we can, trying to get as respectful, you know, tenants as possible. So those are the commitment that we have to you guys. I don't know, do you guys have any more questions, or is maybe one more?
Could I just offer one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know you, we want you to succeed.
Right, yeah, we know that, yeah.
We want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And all these things, and I understand where you're coming from. I guess the last concern I would put out there is, as you say, it's a marginal business. This is a way to put it over the top, and that would be an appreciated thing for you guys. And 3 years from now, it's still marginal, and you sell out, and the guy that buys it is not nearly so appreciative of the values, cultures, the local understanding, the neighborhood, all those
Right.
things, as you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've had a change in this structure there, so there is that.
I understand that
There's
too.
that level of concern also.
Yeah.
And, you know, in that regard too, I understand, and if we were that guy, we could, you know, split up this into 5 lots and sell it as 5 homes. I mean, you know, that's legal, and you don't have to do a public hearing, so we're trying to do it a different way.
Yeah.
And anybody can do that without this conversation, and, you know, that's what we're trying to bring a conversation to you guys and make sure that we're hearing you, trying to be respectful, because if we wanted to just make money, it's chop up the lots, sell them, and that's happening in other parts of the city, but I don't agree with that, the way of doing it that way, and so we're trying it this way, and we're gonna see where it gets us.
Yeah. Yeah, we love it, in all honesty. I mean, it has become an expensive hobby for Aaron and I, but we really, and we have this cool thing that we can bring our kids to, and hopefully they can work there, you know, when they get into high school, but it's, we had just a we had to have the talk, when we looked at the books this year for the third year, and it's like, what do we do? So, that's where we're at. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Joe.
so that I'm not trespassing, can
Mhm.
I come back and look?
At our
All
property?
right. No, behind, yeah, can I
Yeah,
come back and
yeah.
look at the site?
No, we're open, I mean,
Well, no, I gotta get right here.
well, yeah, no, Deb's the tenant on the 3-acre site. The 1-acre site of Phil's and the other 1-acre site, you know, so Deb, we would respect that, you know, you asked Deb if you could get permission to walk through that versus us. She's the tenant, so, the other properties, feel free to go back there, anytime.
Okay.
Guys, you know, I need to echo Dr. Henke's comments about we want to be good neighbors and everything.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to ask, and this is going to put burden, yet another burden on you guys, is if this is approved and if the tiny homes are built and even with the Airbnb, I'd like to ask that you guys, one of you at least, meet with every tenant when they move in or before they move in and outline the concerns about the Middle Island Point and other neighbors about the trespassing issue.
Okay.
Because you can send them a letter, you can put it on their website, you can do all that, and speaking from experience working at Middle Island Point, not everyone reads everything.
Yeah.
And it would probably go a long way, at least to
Sure.
make me feel more comfortable if I knew that you were meeting with every one of your tenants before they move in to outline the concerns about your neighbors. You know, that would be very good.
We'd easily do that by changing our check-in policy and have it run through the store and with our store manager who goes through the.
I mean, I would, yeah, exactly.
That's just
Go with
right off the top of my head, that
What
was just something
what I'm
easy.
asking is you guys,
Yeah,
not a 22-year-old store manager or
Right.
whatever. You guys, as the owners, meet with the tenants and outline our concerns.
I mean, I 100%, and I'll be 100% honest, I don't live here half the year. I travel a lot for work, so I'm not gonna be able to do that. And if there is a way that we can both do it, we will do our best, but I don't wanna say something that I
Right.
can't promise because I'm not here all the time. I do travel a lot for work, and that's my profession, and so, you know, we have really good store managers. We try to hire good managers, and, you know, when we can't, we can make sure that the check-in goes through that store. And that's the best thing I could probably say today, that we can offer that, because that isn't something we can guarantee, that process happens.
Okay, thanks very much, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, go.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Sure, come on back.
Please come back.
Can you hear me? My name's Chris Bird, I'm at number 16 Middle Island Point. So this is really a question directed at Mr. McCarthy. Did I hear you correctly in saying that homes or land currently along that corridor could support other homes of this nature less than 40,000 square feet, which lit up Ms. Carlson's? Is
No.
that correct?
No, it's a unique parcel in that it's been there a long time. If a new parcel was created along that corridor.
No, I'm just speaking about the current parcels that currently exist. Where I'm going with this thought is, while these gentlemen have this project, you know, see it through to completion perhaps, then will it proliferate up the corridor? Is that the goal of the township in order to create more and more A, revenue, and B, or supposed affordability going forthwith?
Well, tiny homes are available by special use in any of our residential districts.
Okay, so there's no stated goal in order to attract this sort of thing, you know, because obviously Marquette is being discovered and there's going to be more and more pressure, which everybody is in concurrence with. So I'm just wondering about what beyond the secondary and tertiary causes and effects, when we get up to the quaternary and quinary ways, what are we looking at beyond, do you believe, currently?
Well, this zoning text amendment has been online and in place for 3 years, and this is the first application that we've received for a tiny home in Marquette Township.
Okay.
We're not going to make, I don't want to say we, but the community is not going to, you know, be handing out tax revenue refunds for a couple of 450 square foot tiny homes. But what we are trying to do, I think, as a community, is to have housing for all stages of life. And if a tiny home is a viable option for somebody, it was important to the planning commission and the township board to have that available.
All right, are there other examples of this type of home structure going on anywhere within the county of Marquette or within the city of Marquette? Do we have any?
Good
examples?
question. Now, I like to think that we're at the forefront.
Hence, exactly.
Mhm.
So therefore, if this happens, this is actually going to set a big precedent within the township and therefore within the city, probably within the county, because now this will be the first example of this going through. Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Thank you very much.
I've been living here for 5 years.
Yes.
And I think the second year I moved here, I saw an article in the Mining Journal about a young couple that built a tiny home in Marquette. Does anybody recall that? Because I recall it specifically. I was thinking, oh, look at that. These people are building a tiny home in Marquette. Yeah, I don't think it's in the township, but it's in Marquette City. But that's just from reading the Mining Journal and
I was just thinking
my
about
memory.
how
Yeah.
these parcels then could be, in fact, divided up should they request special use permit.
No, I guess to answer that question, the minimum lot size still in the zoning district is 40,000 square feet.
Correct, so if you had an 8-acre parcel, you could apply for a subdivision.
Only if it was a historic parcel.
Historic parcel.
That's correct, yeah. Something that was created, I think, before the 50s, I want to say.
So the lot number ending in -10 was created in the 50s?
Ending in 10.
That's the one that we're speaking to, because number -00 is
a parent.
Pierce,
Mm-hmm.
who is not only a tenant, but she entered into
So
agreement to sell it.
that particular question would be relevant to the health department. So all we're concerned with is height and bulk and land use. And we allow the land use. With a dimensional variance, they could be allowed 2 structures. The reason that the 2 structures are allowed on that specific piece has to do with the historic nature of the property. I would be happy to relay the email that I received from the health department to any of you with regard to why that was allowed, but that's not my, not in my purview.
My direction was going in. I was just merely asking what constitutes the historical nature of a parcel, and therefore could others, follow suit and do, and is this a goal for the township / going forth?
Our goal is to preserve larger tracts of land in the parcel sizes that are established in the zoning ordinance. Nobody's trying to, we're not trying to carve up properties here. We're just
No, and I understand that. I'm just saying that this will set a precedent that there will be an avenue in order to be able to replicate this effort once again.
potentially.
Okay, thank you very much.
I guess I'll just add that, I know that maybe I come off candid and I try to have, these open conversations. This is my 11th year here. I'm from this area as well. I know these guys. It's nice to see that, younger people are taking on projects that are tough, and I know the Johnson family from growing up and have a lot of respect for the historic nature and family connections that are out there. When I meant a thing, I meant a trend, okay? I didn't mean to sound, I should sound more formal, I guess is what I'm saying. But I like having these conversations because, like the gentleman said, Marquette is changing, but we're trying to do it in a way that's sustainable and using the best management practices that we can try and get. And sometimes I'll go to the planning commission and the board with things that are way up here, but we may land somewhere down here because it's just not palatable to everybody. And we have another gentleman, Jim Clark, who's in the audience today, who's been around for a long time and doing development with us and has some other things he wants to do. And I hope he could attest to the fact that we are very open and we try to be as transparent as possible. That's one of the things I hang my hat on and is trying to understand everybody's concerns. But if there's a possibility of curtailing some of those concerns by just having the dialogue and providing cell numbers and, maybe, I don't know, there's all kinds of things that we've done in the past, whether it be a fence or what have you. We understand your concerns, but, I don't know. I'm not the one making the decision on this. It's the planning commission. My job is to have you all show up and have your comments heard so that the planning commission can make the best decision they can with the information that they're providing. And you all provided some great information tonight. And perhaps if there's anything that the township can do to help you with trespassing issues or things that come up, let us know. As a side note, I just received an email about some shoreline grant money that's out there. So if there's anything that you guys need, we don't own a lot of, we own a 20-foot piece, I think it is, Lynn, on the lake somewhere, that was going to be used for potentially a water source for us, but we'll probably never use that. So we often have to work with our other partners to try to find lakeshore projects and restoration. But there's other ways that we can work together that, I've not met a lot of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to present in front of you tonight. And hopefully, this job doesn't, planning's fun, zoning's not as much fun. But hopefully through the process, we get everybody's concerns heard and that the planning commission can make the best decision. That's up to the chair.
Okay, sure. Come on back.
Hi, I'm Barb Butchko, number 4 Middle Island Point. Jason, this is a question for you. You said that you received phone calls in regards to this proposal. Did you share those concerns or those comments with the rest of the planning commission?
I believe the people that I spoke with are here today, and there's one other letter that we haven't read into the record yet.
Okay.
But yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Waring at 389 County Road 550. I appreciate the comment you made about wanting to have a community discussion. I don't know many of you on the board. Jason, we've spoken on the phone, but I know many of you in this room. This is my community. This is my neighborhood that I live in. So when you say things like you want to have that conversation, and I feel like you brushed aside the original Phil Lilly on some of his concerns, why can we not have that discussion? He's concerned about privacy on his property, and instead of, I guess, brushing some of those things aside, saying that Middle Island Point has had people trespassing since the 50s, for instance, instead of let's dig into some of these concerns and actually have a conversation. I think that many of us in this room see Phil's 550 and the store as not only a legacy, but as a wonderful part of our community. And I think that we would all like that to continue along this way, and I think that the only way that we get that is with good ownership, and I applaud Kevin and Aaron as being people who are willing to listen to the concerns of the neighbors, and applaud my community, I hope, and that we can all, I guess, find some common ground in this going forward. And I think that starts with us as a neighborhood, but you all are certainly part of that too. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, we will close the public hearing at 8:09. So, the discussion, anyone wants to start?
Do you want me to read the last letter in?
Oh, yeah.
Dear Jason, as a stockholder of Middle Island Point Campers Association located at Cottage 13, I'm opposed to the granting Philville LLC proposed tiny home land use to be located at 400 County Road 550. My main opposition is not knowing the environmental impact the tiny home land use will have on the Middle Island Point Campus Association land near proposed tiny homes, especially from the septic drainage fields and transitory inhabitants of the proposed tiny homes. Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Lowell Youngquist.
So, Jason, I have a question. So, based on everything that's been said tonight, and everything that you know, let's just ask or address this concern about septic drainage fields. So, based on the diagrams we saw and so forth, is there any concern that we should have about any infringement or negative impact because of the septic system that's being installed?
None anticipated. And I will add to that, in the zoning ordinance, in your documentation here, 1604 sub B, the planning commission decision, the planning commission may deny, approve, or approve with conditions a request for a special land use approval. The decision on the special land use shall be incorporated into a statement and contain the conclusions relevant to the special land use under consideration, which specifies the basis for the decision and any conditions imposed. I wanted to also add that every special land use shall be conditioned upon the proposed development fully complying with all other requirements of this ordinance, and, where applicable, the township subdivision regulations and any other pertinent federal, state, county, or local statutes or ordinances. A violation of any condition contained in this special land use shall constitute a violation of this ordinance. So there are some checks and balances on there with any approval or denial, but any project that's approved in the township still has to meet any other relevant provisions that are available or required by any state or other regulatory agencies. So it's a little bit like we're not the city, right? In a lot of cases, the city, they control the roads, they control everything, and that way it makes things a little bit more streamlined. But in the township, the county controls the roads, county does the building permits, so we as a community, as far as the planning and zoning department and the planning commission, we really only establish land use and height and bulk density issues, things like that. And the county is in charge of building codes and things of the like. So it's a little bit convoluted, but I just wanted to add that the township is supported by other agencies who also have much more restrictive regulations than we do.
Do we have any more questions? Discussion?
From what we know from the presentation that was made here by the owners and the pictures and so forth, we in some other instances when there's development, we talk about buffer zones in terms of aesthetics. How is this going to present in that respect? These homes, will they be, are they going to be aesthetically offensive to people that are in Middle Island Point by looking at them, or are they going to be more?
Well, they're certainly not comparable to
Well,
the beautiful
understand
homes
that.
on Middle Island Point,
Right.
but I think they're aesthetically pleasing, but that's why they make cars different colors, I think it's a high quality build, which is important, I guess. It's not, it's not, and I've seen on TikTok, these Home Depot sells a tiny home that you can have plotted on your property and then you finish it out. That's not what we're looking at here. These are, I know it's probably difficult to ascertain the quality of the construction here, but they are, I think, aesthetically pleasing. If there's some kind of additional buffering between the gentleman, Mr. Lilly's home and that structure, certainly the planning commission can entertain, an option of adding additional screening if they wanted to. Again, you can't apply conditions to the, your decision. But I will say that the structures meet the required setbacks for that zoning district.
And, you know, I think one thing you can also think of, if anyone does make a motion, is with the condition that you post, not just besides them talking to the tenants, but posting something in there with a map showing Middle Island Point and, you know, what's private and where they shouldn't go, and have that posted, you know, right inside each unit, so that they would know that as well. You can make that a condition also.
Or in their lease.
Hmm?
Could be a addendum in the lease.
Kind of like the short-term rental things that we were talking about before. But, you know, they were right where they, you know, they could have just put a single-family house up here and not have gone through any of this. And, I don't know, to me, two smaller houses, nicely done like this, looks better than a single-family house that they could have put up, or if they would have put something cheaper up, you know, they wouldn't have had to go through any of this. So they're kind of, to me, it looks like they're doing kind of high-quality work on this, and I think that that would be something to consider as well.
So I have a couple of comments. What I heard out there was that there are people concerned about safety. So I guess I would recommend that in your lease you address safety, and you may already have that addressed from the perspective of this is a family community area and we expect you to be respectful of the safety of the people. The other thing I heard a lot about was walking through people's properties. My guess is there's already signage posted. And you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, okay? That would be my dad saying that. And so you can post more signage if that is what you choose to do. You said a fence was not reasonable. That could be that that's not reasonable today, but it could be that the Middle Island Point people choose to put a fence up. Okay, so that's another option for keeping people out, although people do climb fences. We all know that too, right? This is the mom who has a swimming pool, and people climb fences. Okay, the other thing that I would recommend, since people are very interested in these tiny home structures, that you guys set up an open house and invite your neighbors to come see before you start the rental, and invite us to come see it, because I think that's what our new camp should look like. So I'm pretty excited about this, and I'd be happy to have them next door to me. And we do have a lot, so maybe that will be my next plan. But I think we get this magazine called Michigan Planner. Jason has provided us with tons of stuff about affordable housing. I'm sure that if someone's interested, there is an issue in our country about housing. And so I think this is a great idea. Thanks, guys. And I think as neighbors, let's be supportive as best we can. And I know where Kevin works too, so you guys can always go see him. He's there sometimes, but his dad is always there. So, thanks.
Jason, have you ever, in your experience, had a situation where you've had a family that owns a house and then they want to build a little house in the back for an elderly parent or whatever, you know, relative or whatever? Sometimes they call them carriage houses, is that correct?
Accessory dwellings.
Okay, have we had that experience here in the township?
In a couple instances, the problem is that you have to have a larger piece of property typically to do that. You know, the planning commission has been discussing affordable housing for some time, the last couple months, and we're really trying to do things from a zoning perspective that can allow that to happen. In fact, there's a great article that I'm going to share with you, not tonight, but after this meeting, where there's actually 15 different amendments that you can make to your ordinance. None of these would impact you guys, or actually the Johnsons, or Mr. Lilly, or Mr. Rurinman. But these are things, it's hard to incentivize a developer to come in and build affordable housing because everybody wants to make the maximum profit that they can, which is one of the reasons that inflation is so high right now. But we're trying to have this conversation to see what we can do because the builders aren't doing it. And how can we incentivize development to have, where not every house in the community that gets built is a McMansion, and there's more economy of scale going on for people that are in the 200,000 range or 250 or up to 300 maybe, but that's probably decreasing as well as we speak. So, I guess to answer your question, yes, that has happened, but it typically takes a larger piece of property. Again,
Larger than 40,000.
You can have 2 dwelling units on a property, provided that they can be situated in a way that they meet individual lot setbacks and minimum lot sizes, so that in the end, they could be sold as individual parcels. So that typically takes a larger piece of property. You're not gonna see that in Trowbridge Park probably, but in some of the larger lot sizes, like over an acre, I would say that that's a viable option for us in the future. All of this requires zoning text amendments, which we will, there would be public hearings on, and we would ask people to come in and speak to that. Here's what we're thinking, what do you guys think? Just like tonight is. Here's what they're thinking, what do you guys think? How can we make it better, etc.
Well, with respect to this particular development, if these gentlemen decide to, at some point in time, to sell the tiny house to the renter, to both renters, or whatever, can they do that?
I don't believe the property can be subdivided because it will not meet the minimum lot size for the zoning district.
Okay, so.
The only variance you will get is the fact that you can have 2 dwelling units, if they get it. We're not gonna ask the ZBA to support this, obviously, if it's approved. But the only variance that they're gonna get would be that they can have 2 dwelling units of this particular size on a lot that is this particular size.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're not asking to split the lot up into a smaller piece than it is already. It does meet the minimum lot size, which is 40,000 square feet or roughly 1 acre.
And you're saying that can't be done? These houses cannot be sold separately?
That's correct.
Okay. So whoever buys this land from these gentlemen, if these gentlemen don't stay there, will have to maintain those 2 tiny houses as tiny houses?
Yep, perhaps they can live in one and rent the other one out.
Okay.
Steve, do you have anything further?
No, I'll make a motion here, though. I'd like you to put your amendment on, because I have kind of forgotten a little bit of the specifics on that, but I move that we approve the proposed tiny home land use to be located at 400 County Road 550, Marquette, Michigan, within the zone rural residential district per Marquette Township zoning ordinance. The applicant lives at 500, the business applicant address is 500 Outpost LLC, 117 North 6th Street, Marquette, Michigan, 49855. And your amendment, Jim?
To have signage in both units, more of a map, I guess, showing what property is private and where they cannot go, and have it outlined in there so everyone's aware of it, with an explanation.
Can I ask a question before we proceed here? How would this body monitor whether or not these gentlemen are going to do that?
I'll make the map for them and ensure that it's placed in there.
And what about verbiage? What about language?
Language as far as what?
That this is the boundary, this is private property on this side, and there's this posted as no trespassing. Will your map say that? I mean, in other words, what are they going to tell their tenants?
Well, I don't want to speak for them, but I can certainly make them a map that they can then amend or
And then will you approve the map and the language?
I'm not gonna approve the language, I'll make them a map if they want, but I'm sure Aaron's quite capable of doing that as well.
I guess what I'm saying is to if we accept this with Jim's amendment, how would we know that?
I'll inspect once they're.
Okay,
yeah.
that's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We can add the planning administrator will approve it and check that it's in both units.
Am I allowed to say anything right now?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay, we need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? You good? You good? All right, we'll have a roll call vote then. Steve Heikkinen,
Yes.
Danny Ferraro,
Yes.
Bethany Cody,
Yes.
Jim Johnson's a yes, Linda Winslow.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, guys, good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, 6B, special use permit public hearing request. Proposed mini warehouse storage land use on a property located within the general business district. Parcel ID 52-08-450-017-00. The applicant is Andrew Mansfield from Integrated Designs, 1021 West Barriga Avenue in Marquette. Jason.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Nice to see you. We've received an application for some mini warehouses to be constructed on a property adjacent to the Westwood Mall. The property is in the zone general business district where this is a special land use. They have access via easement that the adjacent buildings also enjoy, basically the Super One driveway. So that's the zoning district that it's located in, and this is the copy of the survey showing the access easement. And these are the surrounding land uses here. But right now it's a vacant property, undeveloped, and Mr. Mansfield's working on behalf of Superior Diversified LLC, which is, I believe, kind of the bowling alley owner in that area. Anyway, so we've received a completed application, and we would ask that the Planning Commission schedule a public hearing for August 12th, I believe it is, at 7 p.m. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But basically, it's a land use that requires a public hearing. And I can see some things are going to come into play, such as design standards, because it's in the general business district, and I believe that we require some architectural breaks in long walls, and these would be proposed to have long walls. However,
material as well, right?
potentially, there is a number of different ways that somebody could accomplish that objective. So whether it be landscaping or material changes or things of that nature. I think there was also something that might have said if it's actually visible from the public road, or I would have to go back and look at it. But certainly before the public hearing, we will square away those answers.
But this doesn't need a buffer, does it?
It could potentially, because you don't know what's going to be developed to the west of it.
West, okay.
So that land use is unestablished, and the land use to the east is established, but I probably won't require much of a buffer.
You mentioned a bowling alley. I'm confused.
Yeah, so the bowling alley property and the, oh, these don't work on here.
Does that Plan North or True North on it? Do you know?
This is true north here.
But the plan
So
shows
Marquette
both.
Meats and the bowling alley and the Hong Kong buffet are like right there. Yeah, yeah. This building here.
Be northwest of the mall. Okay, okay.
That's not planned north.
And how wide is that access in there?
It is. It looks like 30 feet.
Is that for utilities too, or just access?
Good question, Steve.
Utilities are on Venture.
Yeah, utilities are on, well,
Where's Venture?
Venture's to the north.
How the utilities get brought in?
Well, that's a great question. I believe that there are utilities, the only thing they're gonna need is electric, and I believe electric is already at the,
No fire protection at all?
I'm not sure, I think it's just cold storage.
If I may, I'm actually here on behalf of Andrew Mansfield.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Manning from Diversified. So
Oh, hi,
if
yeah.
you need any-
Didn't know you were here.
So if you want questions, I can address.
That'd be
them.
great, yeah, come on up.
As best I can. Steve Betcher. I actually live at 263 Eagles Nest Road, but I'm with Integrated Design, so Andrew Mansfield is the civil engineer for it. He's on another school project at board meeting downstate tonight, so I am filling in for him, knowing it wasn't a true public hearing and that would be coming up.
Okay.
Dean Manning is Diversified, and he's owns the bowling alley and the Hong Kong buffet building that's right in front. The utilities do come right in between the buildings. So there is a utility easement right now that comes straight up through between the buildings here. He owns obviously a large portion of this already, right up in the actually part of Super One. I think that's probably not quite correct, but the utilities are actually roughed in all the way up to this point right now. So we have gas, water, power is actually in this location already as well. And there is a public sewer that comes up to that point. As far as heat in the buildings, there is no heat established in any of the storage buildings that he wants to put in, but there would be heat in his equipment storage building. He has 4 pieces of equipment that he does snow removal with for a lot of the township businesses, front-end loaders, and I think 1 dump truck. And so he's looking to store that equipment locally around within this local area.
Would that require fire protection?
That would not, because we can keep a separation. That building would be just for vehicle storage, and we don't have any other type of use within 25 feet of that
So
building.
the fact that you're storing vehicles in there wouldn't require?
Not if you don't have any other use.
Okay.
So how would they enter into the storage? Which road are we talking about? Because one.
Correct. His building right now is this whole area with this access. So you can enter in this way or you can enter in this way. So the way you enter into Super One Foods, or you can come across from in front of the mall.
Okay.
You also could enter in off of Wright Street here too.
Right, but you would be going up where that Super One people park.
Correct. Well, yes, this is technically Super One's parking lot here. I know they do park in here as well, especially the workers, but this is the access that they have.
And you wouldn't access from the other side, than by the mall.
I mean, you couldn't necessarily keep people from accessing that way, honestly.
Right, but they won't drive. The garages won't open now.
No, the garages would be placed back in here. And then the main equipment storage building, he wants directly behind the building, so it's not necessarily seen easily from the road. This is how he has described it to us, what he would desire in this law.
Was there a site plan submitted for this?
Yes, there was. Conceptual in nature, but.
Yeah, I don't see any grading or anything.
Yeah, at this point, he's trying to just get the hearing and the use to make sure that, you know, before he spends too much money and time having that developed.
Are they visible from the mall, looking, like so when you're behind the mall, back parking lot looking?
Yes, potentially they would be.
Are there screenings that are required in this area?
Yeah.
Screenings, plantings?
Well, it depends on the intensity of the land uses, and I have a feeling they're probably pretty similar. But because it is a special land use, you could request a wooden screening fence, you know, as a condition of approval.
But storage buildings wouldn't have the same density as a commercial store or building or a church, would it? I mean, you're talking a whole heck of a lot more people on one side of that property than on the other side, so the density isn't the same, unless we're talking footage on the ground.
No, I'm talking about land use intensities. So there may be a minimal buffer there. You know how they have the
All right,
variations
okay,
of
so-
100
so
foot
they'll-
distances?
They'll accommodate that.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And the planning commission can address it too. I
Sure.
mean, like I said, any special use permit, approve, deny, or approve with conditions. So, you know, if the Westwood Mall's making a big comeback and they're gonna have a lot of activity back in that area, and you don't want them to look at storage units, then you could request that they also run a wooden screening thing up the east side of the property
Or they might even want to put one up themselves.
for security reasons.
Is that what you were referring to when you let off the discussion by saying they had long walls and they would need breaks?
No,
That's
that
something else.
referred to the fact that we do have minimal design standards in the general business zoning districts for certain properties that, I think it's, I have to look at it, but it's abutting, it might be abutting the highway. But we'll address that ahead of the public hearing.
Okay. Are you familiar with what he's talking about?
I am not, I'm not necessarily an
Okay.
architect, but
Okay.
we have people on staff that I've heard that mentioned, so they
Yeah.
must be aware of.
Yeah, I believe I mentioned it to Andrew too. so.
Okay.
But if they did put a fence up there and it wasn't able to be seen, then they wouldn't have to meet.
That would be
those-
up to the planning commission. Yeah.
Okay.
And we
But I
should see-
mean,
we
there's
should see
no-
what the requirements are first.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll spell it all out for
Yeah,
you,
okay.
ahead of, hopefully when we come back for the public hearing and the site plan review, then all those things will be addressed well ahead of time. But the applicant did provide the required information to be scheduled for a public hearing, no doubt.
For storage as use, is it like a 24-hour operation?
It
I
would
think-
have, I think, I would have to have Dean Manning from Diversified answer that. However, he has mentioned to us that, you know, people would have a key and they would have access to it 24 hours.
Okay. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a public hearing, schedule, public hearing. I think, is it August 10th?
Let me just
Well-
double check.
It's
Yes,
the 12th?
August 10th.
You said
I
12.
think it's the 12th.
I did, but you know me and
We're
my
not, I'm not
dates.
coming on Friday.
Okay.
Fine.
It is August 10th.
10th.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, set.
Who seconded?
I did.
All right, moving along to 6C, special use permit public hearing request for a proposed scientific research facility to be located on a property located within the development district. Parcel tax ID number 5208-020-02800. The applicant is Jesse Nye, Mount Manufacturing, 200 Echelon Drive, Suite C, Negaunee, Michigan. Jason.
Mr. and Mrs. Nye are here this evening. Thank you for your patience tonight. They too have submitted a special use permit application for a scientific research facility. Mount Manufacturing researches and develops and machines and makes replacement body parts and all kinds of instruments. Be happy to let Jesse take care of that explanation, but what I'm excited about is that, you know, 906 Technologies, we approved a very similar type of land use, and funny when you start talking about research and development and high-tech industry, how all of a sudden there's two businesses in the community that want to do those things. So that's, I think, a good thing. This land use is in the former Carpet Specialist Building, which is now the All Things Basement-y, Northam Basements. So they are moving on and moving out. From what I understand, Jesse and his team have a purchase agreement in place, and all of that purchase agreement is contingent upon full zoning approval. So this will actually be, from my talking to Jesse, a reduction in the intensity of this land use. So the outside storage goes away, nothing outside, you know, maybe a delivery truck here and there, but, you know, a couple of employees that come in and really no visitors, you know, to speak of. So a quieter land use, if you will, but perhaps a more viable long-term land use in this area. So that land use requires a special use permit when located adjacent to residential land use or zoning. And we all know from the last time that there is an elderly woman that lives next door. But we know also that there is buffering in between the buildings that has been established for a long time, and there's no additional plantings that are needed. But anyway, Jesse and his team have submitted the application and the required information, we believe, to have a public hearing on the matter scheduled for August 10th as well.
Sounds exciting.
Sounds
I
like
drove,
a
I drove by there today thinking.
great use of the building.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I answer any questions for anybody?
Yeah, I got just a couple little questions. Are there any toxic chemicals involved?
No.
No? Okay. So for washing, what's used there?
We use basic detergents.
Okay.
The most, I guess the most aggressive chemical we use is a citric acid, which is at a concentration similar to what you might use in canning.
Okay,
Or
are you doing the final packaging for medical implants?
We provide non-sterile devices in final packaging.
Okay.
Our customers typically repackage those devices into retail packaging,
Okay.
shelf cartons and things like that, or they may take the devices and place them into like a sterile barrier for gamma radiation. But as far as
so you don't provide them with a sterilized product?
No, nothing is provided non-sterile.
Okay.
And what is it again that you, I'm sorry, I missed it when Jason.
So we're a technology company. We're founded with engineers and basically our backgrounds are medical device manufacturing and design development. So we basically help our clients prototype devices and then take them to market. So we provide the upfront prototyping, a lot of design consulting, quality system consulting.
Yeah, but what, I'm asking you, what particular type of devices are they?
Medical device.
No, I didn't, but like.
Oh,
what?
okay.
Cardiac implants or?
The most, we mostly specialize in cardiothoracic, trauma, spinal, and then extremity. So it's mostly implantable devices like screws and plates, and then instrumentation used to conduct the surgeries.
I see, thank you.
Yep. No, we don't do any large prosthetics. We're not doing like replacement. We're not doing stents. We're not doing heart pumps and things like that. It's the medical device hardware.
Thank you.
Similar to RTI?
Very similar, yes. Yeah.
So this won't be a place where the public can go in and get things?
No.
It's not open to?
No, we don't offer any.
You never know.
Because grade 8 is just not good enough for you.
For your hip replacement, you can go get it.
Shop.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking down the future here, if I have to buy a new knee or something, you know.
Well,
Do it yourself?
what I think what we can bring to the community is really, we're interested in improving the aesthetics of the building over time as money allows, of course. Our foot traffic is almost nothing. You know, we have the occasional machine tool salesman that might come in. Our customers may visit us a couple times a year and regulatory bodies to conduct audits, but it's not, we are not a retail establishment. We have a relatively low staff to square foot of building area, so parking is going to be minimal. And we also plan to, if the current owner doesn't remove the gravel and those concrete barriers, we're going to remove those right away. And we'll work to maintain the really nice trees and shrubs that are a nice barrier between the building and the neighboring house. So we hope to be less intrusive than any of the previous tenants.
So I'll ask, this question probably isn't pertinent to our decision, but do you plan to increase your employees, your number of employees?
Yes, I think that we will increase the number of employees over time. Today we are 7 full-time employees. I think that we'll probably increase slightly, but we will not be a 30-employee company by any stretch. What we're finding is that, you know, automation is something that is just it's a necessity in today to be competitive and have margin. And we focus on equipment that is at least semi-automated. So, you know, if anything, we'd like to reduce the staff to equipment ratio. this building is roughly 2.5 times bigger than our current facility. So from an employee count, I would say we're probably not going to exceed 15. And the types of employees we hire are going to range from engineers to sales and marketing people, and then also the skilled craftsmen and technicians.
So middle-class wage earners.
We'd like to think so, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Questions? Motion?
Move to approve the request for a special use permit public hearing for the proposed scientific research facility as described in item 6C of the agenda.
That'll be on the 10th too?
Yes. Be a busy meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
You second? Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. All right. See you on the 10th.
See you then. Thank you very much. Yep. Thank you.
6D, zoning map amendment, public hearing request. Proposed extension of the general business zoning designation on 2 parcels that currently have split lot zoning between general business and development district. Tax ID is 520801701840 and 520801701820. The applicant is Jim Odevero, JCP Trust Highbridge Group, 220 West Washington Street, Suite 220. Jason.
Okay, so we have Jim Clark with us, who's also a representative of the development group. Essentially, Jim Odevero has taken this property over as a result of the splitting up of some of the properties in the Odevero family. And this is the former Fish and Wildlife business and the Lincare site that is just north of, or just east of the current Fish and Wildlife building. So the Fish and Wildlife building has actually been off the tax roll for a number of years under the federal land use that it was operating under. However, in the past month or so, we've been approached by an applicant who wants to put that property back on the tax roll and also improve the site in some respects. However, the land uses that are being proposed by the applicant require that the entire parcel be within the general business district. And currently, if you can visualize this, and you can kind of see these, this is the property. Okay, this is the road that goes in between just north of the Fish and Wildlife business. Or so the Fish and Wildlife building's right here, and then Lincare is right here. I don't know why there's not another parcel there, but there should be.
Isn't the Animal Medical Center there?
They're north, they're right here.
Right there, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
so what the application is requesting is to bump this general business zoning district up to the southern right-of-way of this road. And that would encompass the entire parcel.
And the western border would be New Wright Street, and the eastern border would be Old Wright Street.
Correct, yep. So basically just taking what has been an industrial land use and making it into a commercial or the general business district land use. I did just receive the 3 applications this afternoon, so I'm happy to share with you that it is, the group is the Higher Love Cannabis Company. They would like to operate a grow, a processing area,
Right.
and a corporate headquarters. They have multiple sites around the Upper Peninsula, and they have about 100, over 100 employees.
180 employees.
180 employees. Now, they wouldn't all be housed here, but this would be the corporate headquarters. So in order to make this viable for them and to lease the property from Mr. Odevero, the zoning needs to be in place for that. So, we are requesting, and Mr. Clark has provided some testimony in the staff report about, why he is requesting this application. And these applications for a map amendment can come from either the township board or a petitioner or the planning commission. But in speaking with the development team, I thought it was important for the developer to initiate the request ahead of the applications. Or it can happen in stereo with each other, but I think it's just a cleaner process if the property is amended, if the planning commission and the township board in this case are amenable to that. So that's the tact and the track that I kind of set them on, and they're following suit with that request.
So looking forward, then, the Higher Love takes this, or buys it from your...
No, they're leasing.
They're leasing from you, okay. So then, what about the traffic then, that comes off of that little road, the road that's in between?
That's a private road that we maintain.
Yeah, the only public, and we've already had the discussion, right? Because, I don't know, whenever this went in, it wasn't very well thought out, right? So we've already had the discussion. I don't know if Heidi is gonna be amenable to that or not, but we would love to straighten this out. And, we've talked to Mr. Odavero about it, and he was amenable, provided, it works out. But anyway, this is a private drive. This is a public road.
Right.
There's not gonna be, I don't know how many cars are in this parking lot, but there's actually gonna be less traffic.
There will be?
Oh,
Yes.
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that get split zoning in the first place?
That's a good question.
I think it follows.
Are you sure it's described correctly?
It follows the section line.
Yeah, go back to that red line, or the red one.
That's what happens.
Because look at how it falls straight across.
This is a section line.
And
Why
that's
don't-
almost
why don't-
everybody else's property up on the top except for that
Yeah.
one.
If you're gonna do something like that, why not do the general business all the way up to Venture Drive? Or include all of the area in Venture Drive? Instead of doing, spot zoning.
Oh, I don't think it's spot zoning.
Well,
It's a
you're
property line.
well.
It's
Contiguous?
It's contiguous. It's on the property.
Yeah,
It's just a portion of it.
Yeah, no, I got that, but
On
how
the north
about,
side.
instead of doing a little bit, do something, does it need to be general business for all of Venture Drive up there?
No, not in my opinion.
What is it, development district?
Yes, it is.
And what's the difference?
A lot of the land uses that are available in the general business district are available in the development district. But if it's located abutting to residential land use or zoning, then you would have a public hearing.
What's the animal medical center? What, is that general business, or is that?
No, that's in the development district.
Development.
And remember, we had a big stink on that because that old farm property is still there with the big barn, beautiful property. And we had to put a fence along the whole northern.
Yeah, right.
I think Lynn was on the plan commission at that time, maybe.
Is that Pessimus?
No. It's, Fry.
No.
It's a Fry property, isn't it?
So I guess I wanted to point out the south boundary is the entire width of the target parcel.
Yes, yeah. And this is skewed a little bit, obviously, you can see where the delineation is here. Well, so this is a reuse of the property that's gonna bring it back on the tax roll and then some. And it's, the land uses that they're proposing, those licenses that are available, which currently haven't been extinguished. So we've extinguished 4 licenses for retail, but 0 for processing or grows. And so this would be something accretive to the market.
The other thing is the state of Michigan sends money back to the communities that have those types of business. That's.
And that will have its own public hearing. This is just for the map amendment.
Okay. Motion?
Move to approve the public hearing request for a zoning map amendment to set it again for August 10th.
Correct.
for the description provided in our agenda item 6D.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. August 10th it is.
Thank you.
You bring you samples from there next, when you come next? My mic was off on that one.
No, and you're being taped.
Oh, I forgot to turn that off.
Oh,
Well, it's legal now, Lynn, what the
you are
heck?
quick.
Did you get, did Kay get one too?
I'm gonna mail that one.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, unfinished business.
Thank you very much.
Short-term rental report.
Guys, I've been leaving these on the agenda. Obviously, it's getting a little late and long in the tooth tonight, but I'm gonna be interviewed, I believe, by TV6 tomorrow because of the rental, short-term rental situation in Marquette County, so I think they're going around in different municipalities. Obviously, an ongoing discussion, but I think that we're handling these correctly in having these special use permits and the public hearings regarding short-term rentals. I don't think we're being overrun with them as they are in like Autrain or somewhere like that. So we'll keep it on the agenda and keep having the discussions. I think the gist of that agenda item was to ensure that on our application process that we're relaying all of our concerns on the backside of the application so that the applicants are aware of what we expect from them. And that has already been, well, it's begun to be implemented with the next application that comes through because we've been just making copies of what Eric drafted. He is out on maternity leave now for the next 8 weeks, the busiest time of the year. So I've been kind of scratching my head, but things are going okay so far. And then under B, attainable affordable housing, I would really like to dig into that a little bit more. So I just received, as Linda indicated, an issue of the planning and zoning news, and there were 15 different things that the township could do to the zoning ordinance that would put us in a better position to incur affordable housing, such as perhaps having some smaller lot sizes in the areas that you have water and sewer, as long as it's kosher with the county, maybe allowing a smaller, maybe larger than a tiny home, but smaller than the required 1,000 square feet of finished, first floor finished area. So we'll drill into those all together next time. Capital improvements program. So we plan on bringing back the CIP requests from department heads to you on the 27th of this month. And I think because of the public hearings that are going to happen on August 10th, we're really going to try to get through CIP. I'm going to have the department heads here for you. And we'll drill into CIP. Probably nothing really new. I mean, if projects were initiated or budgeted, then they won't be on there from last year, but if they're not, there's gonna be a lot of leftovers from last year. I know for my department, we're requesting that we replace the plotter and scanner that we have, which has been sitting idle and offline for some time, due to the fact that the current computer systems that we have, the plotter and scanner is old enough to where the drivers just won't jive. And so we need to replace that. That's a valuable tool for us, especially with regard to customer service and scanning old plans and making sure that they're documented and put in a digital file somewhere. So that will be my request. There may be some other things coming, but mostly just from the fire department and public works.
Can I interrupt you here for a second?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, I was reading, I missed the last meeting, but I read everything and I marked it up. And it seems like our definition of short-term rental needs a little bit of reworking. It's vague, it doesn't, I mean, what is it, when it says not owner occupied, what about the case where we had a short-term rental, the woman had the sick mother in Gladstone, she died, ended up, everybody hugged each other at the end. She was gonna live there part of the time and have it as a short-term rental part of the time. But this definition says not owner occupied.
Right.
During what period? And then it's inconsistent with I know we're not in favor of the proposed Senate bill, you know, but they talk about it they say for terms of not more than 30 consecutive days. So this, I just think we need to revisit this and maybe involve Zappa in it, because I think these terms are ambiguous. Another thing that I wanted just to mention, I think that some of the proposed guidelines or caveats that Eric wants us to enforce or have enforced with the short-term rentals puts a burden on the tenant when it's really a burden of the landlord. Like, for example, maintaining exterior of the home. That's a landlord's duty. That's not a tenant's duty. You see, you're getting into
It's for the owner, yeah.
But no, it's not clear from what he said. He was putting out like a little cheat sheet for the person who rents. But those obligations that he was talking about are obligations of the landlord. They're not obligations of the tenant.
Oh, sure, yeah, we
So
can separate those out.
I mean, we should it'll take a long time to go through it, but we should somehow maybe even involve Zappa with it so that we get this, because to me, the language was ambiguous and vague.
Yeah, I would love to get some of Zappa's time right now. So the reason why it says not owner occupied is that if somebody is renting a room in a home they live in, we consider that to be a home that's occupied, and therefore we would assume that, you know, it's a safe home to live in. The idea behind that provision being in there was to, for instance, if you had your house out in Eagle's Nest and wanted to just rent out a room, we don't require a permit for that.
No, but what if I just wanted to rent it out for 10 days while I go to Casablanca?
Well, if you're not present in the building, then you need a permit for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that this doesn't make it, this language should be clarified, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's, at some point.
Well, as a former attorney, yeah, we would appreciate your keen eyes on some of our provisions, yeah.
You're always an attorney.
It's always an evolved, the zoning ordinance is an evolving document, so
anyway,
if we can make it better.
Some point in the future, okay.
If we're gonna make some amendments, let's make the right ones that we need to make. So correspondence, 760 Lake Enchantment Road, I really don't have an update on that. I put it on the agenda to make sure it's on there. I did drop off photos that Planner Powers took more recently, so after the June 1 deadline. So yeah, they're in direct violation of a court order. We will keep you posted on that. Roger is going to follow up.
Can I ask you what would be the punishment or anything? Is there anything set in stone? Or else make sure you do it?
Well, I mean, the court.
It's almost been 2 months.
Yeah.
Since they were supposed to have it done.
Yeah.
And nothing's done. It's gotten worse.
Understood.
So what's the penalty? They just keep going along and taunting them or what?
No, that hasn't been my direction to Roger. My direction to Roger has been, let's get this taken care of. But I mean, they are in direct violation of a circuit court order.
Right, but what was the penalty for being in violation of that? Any idea?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Contempt could be one.
Yeah.
Right.
Or else shame, double shame, everybody knows your name, what?
There might be
Civil contempt.
there might be a fine though too.
Daily fines.
Yeah, be fine.
There's no daily fines?
No, I mean,
There might be.
if they're in contempt
Each
of a
day that
court
they're in
order
violation, it could constitute a separate violation.
of a-
And when does that adjudication end?
I am relying on our legal.
All right, okay. As long as,
Township
as long as the
attorney,
next June comes around.
everybody's really busy.
Man, I wish they'd clean this up, you know?
I've also reached out to Roger on your requests for some clarification on some legal issues with the Heisborough short-term rental application. And I also have an email out to Pat Chacuzzo from the county with regard to the well and septic situation. Those have not been returned to me yet. When they are, I will share them. I anticipate having some information for you at the July 27th Planning Commission meeting. I will say that typically when you table a meeting, it should be to a specific date. And so I'll also rely on Roger to kind of get us back on track with regard to the agenda item, because in my view, it would be just best to probably renotice the whole thing. We already kind of know what the sentiment of people are, so I think it would be probably behoove us to just re-notify everything when we do bring it back and reconsider it. So that would be my recommendation.
One thing that I noticed from reading the minutes on that, these people are worried about strangers on the beach, but that's a public beach. That's not a private beach there. I'm a stranger when I walk on that beach to them. So, I mean, that was like a meaningless.
Well, that's why the planning commission has to discern between
Right.
hearsay and, you know, hey, these guys have been violating the ordinance and the law for the last 5 years. That's not the case. I mean, and the fact that the people were a half mile away and they happened to be notified on a, you know, an outlying piece of property that they had, and then, of course, my phone was just blowing up at work, and I'm like...
Well, they showed up en masse here, right?
They sure did. Anyway, that's those agenda items, so reports, there you go. Board report.
Okay, the Marquette Township Board had a regular meeting on Tuesday, July 5th. It was very quiet and we were out of there in a short amount of time. And so actually, as I'm reviewing this, there probably was of interest. There will be a senior event from 1 to 3 p.m. on Wednesday, I think it's July 20th.
Senior, what's the age limit, just so we know?
Anything you want to consider senior is good with me. It's going to be in the room at the end of the hall here. We're going to play cards, cribbage, and conversation,
We know what the
okay?
seniors are.
And it's on the back of the water bill. If you don't get a water bill, it should be on our website. You should be getting a calendar even if you don't get a water bill, but I don't know about that for sure. So that was it. It was very quiet, very quiet.
You do get a calendar if you don't get a water bill.
So this is, well, you don't if you live at it's not Mill Creek. Where do they
Lost
live?
Creek?
Lost Creek. You do not. So I'll talk about that at the township board meeting.
That's a good point. You don't get anything, huh? Yeah.
I didn't know that either, but I learned that.
Rec committee report?
Neither the rec committee or the roads committee met in June.
Okay. Then it's your report.
Busy. Yeah, with Eric out, it's been fences, marijuana licenses, PUDs, lots of different things going on.
What was the delivery, boy or girl?
Baby girl,
Yeah.
Ava. So, yeah, I put a message out today. I was just gonna give, I put an envelope up by Andrew's desk for department heads if they wanted to kick in. I'll go get a Target, gift card or something for them on
Get an out to eat gift card?
yeah,
Really?
a night on the
To
town.
the Casa, right?
Yeah, let's do it locally here.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Really, yeah, and then you can babysat.
that's not a bad idea. actually,
Hire a
so
nanny.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll do
that's a
something like
lot
that.
more fun.
Babysitting coupons. But we wanted to do something nice from the office, so,
Good idea.
yeah, we'll do something next week on that.
Okay.
But he's out for, I believe, he took all of the available paid and then some unpaid too, so. He timed it right, I'm gonna say.
Good for him.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any announcements?
I got an email from Brad Newman, and he loves using our facility for his Michigan State Extension educational opportunities. So he's gonna be doing a Michigan planning series here at the Township Hall, and you are all going. So I'm gonna sign you all up, and
Is it at night or?
there's a group, we get a group discount, one because we host, and two because he likes using the room. And it gets high reviews from a lot of people that use it. So I think he's shooting for sometime in October, which is a great time for that. So I'll make sure to keep you guys posted, but I think it's going to be like a couple night series.
Oh, good. Okay. It's a lovely room.
Not an all-day thing, just like a couple nights during Tuesday,
Yeah,
Wednesday?
when we firm up the details, I'll get back to you on it. It was just a real preliminary email this afternoon just to see if the dates were available.
Just for the use of that room, just for my edification, how do you sign up for that? Is there something on the website, or do
Yeah,
they just call
or you can just
direct?
call Andrea. Yep, and I think if you're a township resident, it's a little bit less than if you're not. And I mean, I started a Cars and Coffee group in Marquette, and we use it on one Saturday a month during the summer if we can get it. And I think it was $50 for a couple hours, and I only just open it up so people could use the bathroom. So.
But for the senior event, there's no age limit. It's free because it's for township residents.
Nice. Good.
It's good to know, right?
Good to know. Thank you.
I guess that's why it's free. It's free because we're hosting it.
Yeah, there's graduation parties,
I've seen those.
retirements, all kinds of things that happen in there.
Eric's baby shower.
Eric's
baby showers, yeah.
Wedding reception.
Yeah.
That's it for announcements?
It
Anything
is.
else?
Yep.
Okay. Public comment?
No, thanks.
No? Lynn, I've been waiting. I thought for sure we
Yeah.
were gonna get something. Nothing.
No, I just wanted to hear about all the property.
Right.
Okay.
So I know what I'm doing.
Which prop? Oh, the,
All of them,
Well, we can adjourn. Then we can-
550 and the license for the marijuana.
that just came in today, otherwise I probably would have deferred on seeing who it was at this time.
What's the status with that business that we're not supposed to know about?
The
The bakery?
Well, I don't know. I'm not
I
supposed to
haven't
mention
heard
it.
anything that it's not gonna get developed, I just think they're having some delays.
Okay. Additional comments by planning commissioners. Start with Steve.
I'm good, thanks.
Denny. Bethany.
None.
Nothing.
Lynn. I don't have any comments, but I'd like some clarification here, as long as Lynn's here too. With these public hearings, I know before when I first started, when the people talk, come up and talk, they can't really, there's not supposed to, am I right in assuming there's not supposed to be any back and forth between them and the commissioners? So-
Yes, sometimes staff can interject, but that's really your meeting.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's, you know, because that's what I kind of thought, but everybody's been kind of asking questions, including you, so I just thought that's kind of gone by the wayside.
Well, I
So-
mean, we can reestablish it any way that you want. I kind of, you know, there's always that thing, like, if somebody gets up and speaks and then nobody answers them, then they feel like they weren't heard, and so I try to avoid that too. I think we've done a really good job of just having an open discussion in a lot of cases, but yeah, I had to, well, they were all talking back there tonight, and that was kind of distracting, so I tried to quell that, but it's really up to you, and whatever, you know, you're the chair, and if you want it to be just that, okay, let's one person at a time and get your answers out, and then people, you'll have to take notes, so you can, you know, go back and address those comments, but, you know, I always stress that it should be the person's time to speak, and, you know, if they can get it out in 3 minutes, great, you know, most people can. Otherwise, they just start talking.
But once the public comment period is closed, then that we should enforce that rule, and I think Steve did.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
person.
Once we pass the
Right.
motion,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no talking.
No, I mean, once the,
Right,
once the
right.
public hearing
Once
is
it's
closed.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. She said, can I say something? I
Yeah,
said,
you're,
no,
yeah,
no.
that's correct.
No, you can't.
That's correct, unless the chair wanted to recognize her,
Yeah, sorry.
and he can definitely do that.
Yeah.
But that's up to him. I mean, if he wants to keep it rolling, then, you know, sorry, ma'am, the public hearing portion of the meeting is closed for this agenda item.
Right, and for somebody who was taking the time, you know, because I was timing it as they went up there, and after they said their name, I kind of gave them that grace period to say their name and their address and start it, and I kind of watched, but if we asked a question or if we were answering a question, I wasn't recording that time because I don't know how long Jason's gonna talk.
Yeah.
You know, so I stopped, and then when they started talking again, I recorded, but everybody was within a reasonable amount where, you know, but it was hard to know, like, okay, I'm not gonna say their 3 minutes is up because we're having a discussion while they're standing
Well, that's the whole
there.
thing when you start saying you have 3 minutes.
That's,
Well, you know, those guys were talking way longer than 3 minutes, and I thought, okay, is somebody gonna say something here?
Right.
Your 3 minutes are up.
and I
or-
thought, you know, at one time maybe have said you're close.
What do you do at board meetings?
In my experience, just from MTA, you know, whether that's state, I'm sure they follow that.
you would open the public hearing at 7 o'clock or whatever, and record it in the minutes. And the public speaks, that's it. And when they're all finished talking, the public hearing is closed. Then the agenda item is usually somewhere farther down. You open the public hearing at the beginning, and then the commission or the board talks about the agenda item. And that's when the developers or whoever comes in and gives all the answers and stuff. The public is entitled to speak by themselves and say whatever they want. It's not a question and answer, and it's not a bantering thing. But like Jason says, that's up to you if you want to have that. I mean, this
Yeah, we
is
haven't done that
different,
before.
you know, than- I mean, you're recorded, but
So open the public hearing first, let them
let
speak,
them speak.
close
It's
it,
not
and then
a
say, all right,
question, it's
Jason, what do you
not
have?
bantering, But if you want to change
Okay.
that, that's, you know.
We could try
this
that
was
next
really
time it's
informative.
busy.
That'd probably be better, yeah.
It's busy. We haven't been this busy in a while.
But then Jason
I would
brings,
be consistent though.
Yes.
Right.
So
Well, that's why I wanted to find out here what everybody
That's a good
thought.
question, yeah.
but then Jason brought up a good point, so then the person raises an issue that's important to them, and then they just sit down, and then, so we've got then to go back, can we, let's just say during
Right,
our, let's just say
discussion,
during
you
our
could say.
session, can we,
You mentioned the sauna setback, okay.
yeah, can we then have another conversation with that person?
I believe that would be,
We
yeah,
can-
it should be allowable, yeah. I mean, it could be anything that you believe it should be.
Okay.
I don't, you know, we're not the Supreme Court or anything. And you won't, I understand, you guys are all, you know, empathetic people, and you want to know what what's on their minds and to address their concerns. So either you do it and then you listen and you go back and do it. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with, like you said, Denny, ma'am, I understand you had a question about this, you know, the answer to that is this.
And then you can
Yeah,
go back and forth with them
Correct.
during our session.
yeah, because now you're
But
doing
would
your
they
due
have to
diligence.
come back up?
Or if they wanted to. I guess.
Yeah, I think you guys do a great job.
I think we handled it well.
So Lynn, I did ask this question of Jim, and we didn't really know, is this meeting also limited to 2.5 hours, or is that only the township board meeting? So we can make a limit as to how long we run this meeting. I mean, it was pretty full. You just have to be careful though, like Jason said, when you actually put the topic at the next meeting, you've got to establish. You can't just say, you know, we're gonna table this. Right, have to establish you when. would say.
For the
We thought-
person.
yeah.
I thought we did.
We did think that. Yeah, you did, but I'm just saying, you can't just table something and not bring it back Oh, right, sometime.
No, we-
You have to say,
we-
I'm gonna table this till the next meeting, or till
We
December.
did table
We
something
tabled it
last
to
week.
where they had
Last
to
time.
notice it because Eric told us that they'd have to notice over again. So then, that's why we set it at the August, whatever it was, I don't know if it was the 10th or the 24th, but are we talking about that short-term rental one?
No.
The Heiser Road.
Just anyone?
Heiser Road.
Heiser Road, yeah.
Yeah, Heiser Road was not tabled to a specific date and time.
No?
No,
thought
we
for
talked
sure we
about
did
them
that.
getting the property
Well, we
description and
said
us
we had
getting a
to-
few more
You-
answers, and then we were
Yes,
gonna.
you requested
that's right.
an opinion from the health department and an opinion from Attorney Zappa.
Oh, maybe that's why we didn't put a,
Survey too?
When you have
Yeah,
the
that's
information, you wouldn't take.
And the
Sorry, it's
survey,
property
yeah.
description.
And it could be a while, I mean,
That could cost,
if you guys are relying on,
that could cost a lot of money.
if you guys are relying on those items to make your decision, you know, it could be a little while, because everybody's really busy right now.
maybe that's why we didn't do it then. Put a date
Perhaps,
on
that
it.
would have been
Yeah.
a smart play.
So
but-
you're saying that we should just say, this item will be moved to the agenda of another meeting?
Yeah,
You know.
when you have the information.
Okay.
Are we
Or
adjourned?
you're gonna have the information every week.
We haven't yet.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We
Oh,
don't
we
need a
don't need a
motion.
motion.
No, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
So turn that thing off.
Turn that off, right?